think we're live. Should be live. Yep. Alright, what's up, people? I meant to change this background. Let's see. We'll put it to this one. Alright, so I did a Juice Opinions talking about the Game Award nominees earlier this week. And I wasn't intending on doing another Juice Opinions, especially with... I forgot I raised my chair up. Especially with the podcast being tomorrow. But last night, I was checking out I was playing Luigi's Mansion. I was checking out the eShop sales. And made a spontaneous purchase. Picked up Hellblade, 50% off on Switch. I've always been curious about it. You know, you never know if the YouTube videos do things justice or not. So, yeah, I wanted to play the game anyway. And also, anyone who's saw that video where I modded my Switch, I put new shells on my Joy-Cons and a new back, and I just kind of wanted to play something in portable mode. And I guess I remember hearing that Hellblade was like, oh, it's best in portable mode because it hides the flaws. But maybe it wasn't that game because the results, I think, are the opposite. I think it's actually significantly better in dock mode. So anyway, I'm going to talk about like the couple times I have Doom, I have Hellblade, these type of ports where I feel like it's getting to the line. Doom, it's fine in portable mode, but in TV mode, it's definitely pretty blurry. With Hellblade, it's the opposite. It's significantly blurrier in portable mode. So it's like, they had to choose where their focus was, I guess, and get to the. I think both games at their worst are at the very line of too many sacrifices. It's not worth bringing the game to the Switch. But then there's areas in both games where it's like, yeah, man, this looks really good, or this, glad I'm playing this on the Switch. There's small moments like that, but I don't want to get right into that. There's some other stuff I've been meaning to talk about. I haven't really. And I've been thinking about stuff, and I was just like, I was almost going to do a whole Juice Opinions on like unpopular opinions that I have. And, I didn't really plan for this, but at the time, like I've been playing on all three, well, not really systems. I've been using the Xbox One controller on PC, but like, I don't know if this is going to be unpopular opinion or not, but I think this generation, the Switch Pro controller, the DualShock 4, and the Xbox One controller, I think these are the three best controllers ever in the history of gaming. Like, all three they're the top three, 1, 2, and 3 for me personally. And crazy thing is I think my Switch Pro controller, actually, I'd put the D-pad in last place. The Xbox One D-pad's great. The DualShock 4 might be my favorite one. But they're all just like super comfortable. They have, the ergonomics are just perfect for my hands. And I would say like the rumble in the Xbox One controller, like the trigger rumble, not a lot of games use it. Forza Horizon, all the Forza games actually. Shadow of the Tomb Raider, when you're rock climbing and as each hand climbing axe hits the wall, you feel that little bit of shake in the specific trigger. And then, like the heartbeat at the beginning of... was that Shadow of the Tomb Raider as well? There's a heartbeat in the beginning, and it feels like there's a heart pulsing in my hands. So I know I'm sure if Clocked It or T watching this, maybe it hurts you to hear me say that. Maybe you agree, but I just think that these three current generation controllers are the three best controllers we've ever had. So and that's not that probably not going to stir up any controversy, but it's just like the more and more I think about it, I can't, you know, I've never been a huge fan of like the GameCube controller and stuff, but I always, when I first played it, I thought, man, this is super comfortable, and I was like, this is perfect, But now when I hold it, it just feels so small, and the grips don't come out very far. Like the PS3 controller, the grips were way too short. Hated that controller. The Wii U Pro controller was definitely closest to the three ones I just mentioned, but it lacks gyro. It lacks well, it's got decent vibration, I guess. But honestly, other than the left analog stick placement on the DualShock 4, that's the only thing that holds it from being the top one for me. Like, it's just that the roundedness of the grips. I actually like the touchpad. Well, they don't use it enough, but the games that used it, it's nice to have that extra button either way. But the gyro, when you're typing on the PlayStation 4, to be able to use the gyro on the keyboard, don't know why fucking Nintendo doesn't do that with the Switch. It makes typing so much better with the controller. And like I said, the rumble and the triggers on the Xbox controller when used is just, I mean, I'll put it ahead of anything I've felt with HD rumble on the Joy-Cons or the Switch Pro controller. Like that, the trigger rumble has a bigger impact than, because to me the HD rumbles, it's more of a vibration. Yeah, it has a little more precision and stuff, and it can do some cool stuff, but it's just a vibration. The Xbox, I've had it apart, actually has something that rotates with a weight on it, so you actually feel like a thump, like the original rumble pack on the N64. So I think they all have one gripe, I would say. The DualShock is the left analog stick. It's fine for most games, but for like Rocket League and stuff, it's just so in the wrong spot that I can't get it used to it doing aerials and stuff. The Xbox controllers, I mean, build quality is probably the biggest one. I've had 4 controllers now where the A button double taps with the single press, which is pretty negative when playing Rocket League. The other one would be the AA batteries, those two things. And then the Switch Pro controller doesn't have analog triggers. If that had analog triggers, I mean, there would be no negative. So, because it has internal battery, it has a good battery life. The DualShock also has a shorter battery life. It's not as bad as maybe the launch day ones, because I get maybe 5 to 8 hours. I've never really timed it. But yeah, so yeah, that was definitely probably the less divisive. I don't know if I want to get into all of them. The other thing I was going to I've said this a few times, I even mentioned it in the end of the last Juice Opinions, is that I think right now Nintendo is at maybe their least consumer friendly they've ever been, in my recollection. And it's not like, oh, they're releasing broken games, and they're charging ridiculous price for DLC. It's not that kind of stuff. It's a bunch of little stuff. And the Black Friday sales was kind of the catalyst for this, but I've been noticing things over the years anyway. The biggest one, I think, is the Wii U ports for $60. I don't care what they do to the game. That's just, in my mind, that's just straight greed. Especially when other companies are releasing old games for cheaper, $40, $30, full remakes for $40. That bugs me. I don't buy them, of course, but it doesn't sit right with me that they even thought that was okay. Well, people bought them, obviously, but to me, people would have bought it. Probably even a lot more people would have bought Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze if it come out at 40, or New Super Mario Bros. U if it launched at 40. That bothers me. Now that I've taken the dock apart, seeing what's actually in it, the fact that they're trying to charge $90 for some really cheap plastic and a little circuit board, with HDMI, a USB 3, and a USB Type C. I don't know the exact number, but just looking at some of the components, looking at what those individual ports cost and stuff, I'd be shocked if the dock cost Nintendo more than $15 to manufacture. Yeah, they got to put it in a box and they got to ship it and all that. But so let's say out of the $90, the stores probably get, I don't know what percentage. Maybe Nintendo gets 70 of that. But the fact that I feel like the main reason they charge $90 for the dock is to make it the actual Switch seem like a bigger value. Because I remember people like, "Wow, the dock's $90. That means you're only paying $210 for the Switch and the Joy-Cons." It's like, nah, I don't, I don't believe it, because even with the AC adapter that comes with the dock, like, I don't have any evidence, but there's nothing you could say unless you actually had documentation of Nintendo's production manufacturing cost. I think at $40 in stores, $40, Nintendo would have made a decent little bit of profit. Maybe they didn't want a bunch of people buying all these docks, and maybe they wanted some people to buy a second Switch. I don't know. Who knows? I just feel like now that I've seen it tore apart, it's not very. The assemblies probably cost more than the actual components, because there is a little bit of assembly involved. But so then you got that. Then you got the Joy-Cons are $80. Yeah, I took them apart. Yeah, there's a lot of tech and stuff in there, but like the IR camera and the NFC chip reader and stuff, like, and the gyro. I don't even know where the gyro is. I didn't even see it. It must be super small. But to me, $80 for a pair of Joy-Cons is, I think the $60 Black Friday price is probably pretty fair. Again, I don't know what the manufacturing costs are. The other thing is, we're going on year 3. Yeah, they put out a new revision, and the battery life's way better because they have a more efficient chip in there. And did they do that to give us battery life, or did they do that to save more money? What do you guys honestly think is the reason that they went to this new chip? Now, I know the hacking, making it so that can't be hacked, probably was the number one priority, but I don't know that they needed a brand new chipset, a new smaller chip to achieve that. And if you know anything about or follow any like these channels that follow like technology as far as CPUs and GPUs, you know that the cost of the bigger chips, the old process would be more expensive than going to this new standard size that all these manufacturing plants are using. So it might actually cost them more to keep using the same one, and it just makes sense to go to the smaller one. But at the same time, they gave us better battery life, which is nice. I mean, it's a double the size, so I mean that's a significant improvement. But then, I mean, we're in 2019 and we're still got 32 gigs of RAM, or memory. I mean, with games that are out that can't even fit on the internal memory, and some of them, like The Witcher 3, comes on a cart, so you do have a physical option, but not all these games have physical options. Like a Hellblade was 18.5 gigabytes. With the Switch, I think default memory after everything, I think you start with like 26 gigs out of the 32. So I mean, you're using up like 60% with one game, and that's just that game. But the fact that they haven't increased the size of the storage at this point, almost 3 years in 2012, the Wii U launched with 32 gigs of internal storage, and 8 years later, or 9 years later, you're still using 32 gigs. Like, that's the other thing about this industry. Smaller sizes like that actually go up. Once you get, let's say, like with SD cards, once first it was 8 gigs was a certain price, then all of a sudden the 16 gigs were the price of the 8 gig, then the 32 gigs were the price that the 16 gigs used to be, and then a 16 gig would actually cost more because it wasn't manufactured as much. So it just makes me wonder if that internal memory really, if there's a cost reason for that still to be only 32 gigs. So that it does wouldn't help me any, because I'm not going to buy a new Switch just for more memory. But just seeing the the kickstand, I'd bought a new backplate because my kickstand on my old one wouldn't, like, if that's clicked in, if I went like that, the kickstand would have fell down. So I actually spent $18 on a backplate because my kickstand wouldn't stay open. So you got this cheap ass kickstand. They didn't fix that. There's just a lot of stuff. Little things like that, like the fact that the online, they're adding Super NES games. Well, they added a few games. They think that's adding value to the Nintendo Switch Online, instead of giving us what people actually want, like a messaging system. I mean, we got the skeleton of a invite system, but it's not utilized yet. And it's like, why are we not getting this stuff? Like, I'm not saying they ever need to do like the Switch full on Pro with more power and stuff, but the fact that they're just kind of rolling with what's working. They're not looking to. It's kind of like the Wii, where they're not looking to get ahead of the game. They're right now, I feel they're content. They were content with the Wii, and look how quickly they got left behind when it came to, oh shit, our games aren't selling like they were. People aren't buying the Wii anymore, like instantly. It was like from one year to the next, the sales just completely went stagnant. The game sales weren't hitting in 2011, and it was just like, it's like they were caught off guard somehow because they were so content. The Wii never got more internal memory. Remember, it had 256 gigs of internal memory, or 256 megabytes. And then you could put an SD card in and get another 256. They never increased that. So I just feel like they're making the same kind of mistake in that regard. They're not really improving. You could say, oh, they improved the battery life. So they made one improvement, but I think they should be being a little more proactive. And we said this on the podcast, talking about player choice games or whatever, those $20 versions of games. Like, where's ARMS in that? Where's Fire Emblem Warriors or Pokken Tournament? These games, they're still trying to get full price for if you can find them in the stores, and they're dead. Their sales are dead. Like, they're not selling anymore. What are you holding on to? Just put them for 20 and expand the player base, especially for these online games. What's up, Donnie? If a game has an online focus like ARMS or Pokken Tournament, you should have already had these games dropped in price so that maybe 4 million people have ARMS instead of 2 million. And yeah, you can get on and sure find somebody to play online in the party mode. But as far as like a diehard, like, they never show player numbers and stuff, but these games would thrive off on their online user base. And it's like, why are you still holding these games? People talk about holding Wii U games hostage, Wii U exclusives hostage. I'm saying you're holding these online games hostage by never having offered a lower price or the player's choice version to like expand the user base, and then you're very reluctant to like do a Black Friday sale 3 years in almost. And it just shows me they're loving that money coming in. So whether it bothers you or doesn't bother you, I mean, it doesn't really bother me unless I just sit there and think about it. I wouldn't mind the company that I support, and that's my favorite company, doing some a little more pro consumer stuff, even if it's like, I already have a Switch, so why would I care about their Black Friday deal? It just bugs me that they're selling the old version of the Switch with a digital copy of Mario Kart 8 Deluxe for full price for $300 instead of putting that older version, say, hey, we're getting rid of stock here at $250, or buy the new Switch and get our newest game, get a Luigi's Mansion. Like, you look at, not that Death Stranding is a great game, but when Spider-Man came out, when God of War came out, the PS4 Pro got a bundle with the physical copy of those games for $400. The PS4 Pro by itself is $400. So you got their top tier games. You got God of War, you got Spider-Man. Now Death Stranding's their big one for this year. You just buy the PS4 Pro bundle. You get a physical copy of their newest game for the same price that the Pro is by itself. Speaking of the Pro, the Black Friday sales that I've seen is going to be $300. If you're looking to get late in the game, get into the PlayStation 4, I would say the Pro is a significant improvement over the base model, not just in the visual output, but just the build quality and just how everything else works on it works better, especially if a 4K TV. It's definitely an upgrade. But anyway, and I'd just like to see Nintendo being a little more open to like doing some nice stuff like that. Like I said, it doesn't affect me because I already have the Switch. I'm not gonna go out and buy a Switch just because it's cheaper. But it just bugs me that they're selling the old model with an old ass game, digital version for this, for $300 instead of giving a really good deal on the older, obsolete now Switch is no longer being manufactured. The new one's the main one now. So I had some other stuff too, and I'm off the top of my head, I'm struggling to think of it. Another unpopular opinion is speaking of Spider-Man on PS4, it's a average at best game for me. I find it quite boring. The exploring New York and finding the backpacks and the landmarks was really the only thing I've enjoyed so far, and I'm just finding it hard to even want to turn the game back on. It's just going through the motions. I just don't find it that fun. It doesn't challenge me. The combat is what I thought it was going to be. I should have known better. It's not that engaging for me. And I know a lot of people love the game, and visually it's beautiful. I don't mind. I think the Spider-Man storyline is actually pretty good. Voice acting, everything's solid, but it's not that good of a game for me. Like it feels less like a game. People say Death Stranding looks like not a lot of gameplay. I'm not feeling a lot of gameplay in the Spider-Man. You just hold the right trigger and release, hold and release, and you swing through the city and parkour and climb everything. And then the combat is just that Arkham Knight style combat that after playing Bayonetta 1 and 2, I just can't go back to. And it's just not an amazing game. I don't know. Sorry. Uncharted Lost Legacy was infinitely better, in my opinion. I had just thoroughly enjoyed that game. And I'm not a huge Uncharted fan. Resident Evil 2, great game. Yeah, and I never played a Spider-Man game before. This is my first one. So, I wasn't that excited about it. I waited a full year and bought it for like I got it for $32, the complete Game of the Year edition. I think on Black Friday it's going to be like 18 or something, but it's just not a great game. I'm sorry, Retro and Terrell and Robert, people that like the game. Clock that talks about not wanting to turn his PS4 on. Well, I don't want to turn Spider-Man on. Like, I got to the end of Ukulele. I played Resident Evil a second time. I blasted through Lost Legacy, and I just can't bring myself to like care enough to turn Spider-Man back on. So, and that's another thing I want to talk about. I know Retro Desk, I don't see him here. We had a little discussion about spoilers in Xenoblade Chronicles 2. We were talking about it not that long ago, and I know Retro's like, I'm tuning out, and I'm like, on December 1st or 7th, whatever, I think it was the 1st, in a couple weeks will be the 2-year anniversary of that game. Now, I know some people said they disagree with me out of the Juices Loose crew, but I'm curious what you guys think. In my opinion, for me personally, if I don't care enough to when I start a game, to finish it, not even within the first 2 years, not even within the first year, within the first 2 months, If I don't care enough to finish it by then, I don't care enough to even care about spoilers. So if it just, my brain or something about me just does, that's how my brain works. Like Spider-Man, you could tell me the whole end of that story and I wouldn't care because I don't care enough to keep playing the game. I might eventually work my way through it, but like Xenoblade Chronicles X, like I got on my screen. What year did that come out? 2015. T still hasn't beat it. He got to the final boss and then he still hasn't beaten it. I'm sorry, you can't cry out for spoilers for a game you've had since day one. You've had it for 4 years and haven't beaten it. I'm sorry. For me, I don't think you can call spoilers on that. That's on you. If you like the game enough, you would have played it more. You would have beat it. That's how I look at it. No, it's not really about the set of time. I mean, that's part of it. But if you really like the game, I just don't see why you wouldn't have finished it by now. Like, to me. And if you haven't finished it because you haven't been compelled to finish the game, I'm sorry, but I don't feel your claim for spoilers is valid. But that's just me. I know, like, I think I was the only one who felt that way. But that's, like I said, unpopular opinion podcast here, or Juice Opinions. And that's probably going to be an unpopular one. But, yeah, you could tell me the ending of Shazam right now. I haven't seen the movie. I've been thinking about watching it. But if I wanted to watch that movie, if I really wanted to watch it, I would have watched it by now. It's available on Blu-ray. I could stream it. I could rent it on Vudu Movies for like $4 or whatever. I didn't go to the theater. So I'm not going to sit there and get mad or act like, why are you telling me the end of that movie? If I wanted to know the end of the movie, I could have watched it many times over, and I chose not to because I just haven't felt that interest into seeing that particular movie. Or to like Captain Marvel, I finally watched that yesterday, and if someone would have told me the ending and stuff, I might have even heard the ending. I couldn't get mad at you because I had plenty of opportunity to watch that movie, and that even came out this year. For anyone that's interested, that movie is pretty much everything everybody said it was. Brie Larson's terrible. She just doesn't have the chemistry. She doesn't have the charisma for that character. There's a bunch of continuity issues with the MCU that they just ignored. It just bugs the shit out of me. Yeah, sometimes you just can't get around to them, but you got around to Luigi's Mansion 3, right? You like that game, so you're gonna beat it ASAP. Like, there's nothing, unless something bad happened in your life. Obviously, you're not gonna get to it, but you're gonna finish that. You're gonna finish. You finished Link's Awakening, I'm guessing. You finished Astral Chain. If you didn't really if you hadn't beat Astral Chain at this point, I would say you must not like it that much. That's what it tells me. I didn't love the game. I liked it, but I even, felt compelled to finish it, not even loving it. So anyway, that's just my take on it. So let's get into kind of the main topic, I guess. Like, for those that weren't here in the beginning, I did one of those spontaneous purchases on the eShop. I saw Hellblade it's still 50% off on Switch. I have it on PC. I finished it. Let me open my Steam. Yeah, I mean, you might not want spoilers for Game of Thrones, but the fact that you haven't made an effort to watch it when everybody else I know that's a fan went out of their way to either get somebody's HBO Go password, worked out a deal with somebody. If you were into Game of Thrones, you watched the finale. Like, that's just how I look at it. So anyway, yeah, Astral Chain's final boss was terrible. I have 11 hours in Hellblade on PC. I can play it 60 frames per second in 1080p, and in 1440p I get about between 30 and 40 frames per second. I enjoyed the game. I give props to the studio for what they did, and they only charged $30. They knew they were trying to make a AAA game on a budget. Instead of being greedy, they didn't try to get $60 for the game. It was $30 from day one. It's now part of Game Pass because Microsoft owns Ninja Theory. So if you have Game Pass, it's definitely worth trying. You might not like it. It's not for everybody. I didn't think I would like it, and I ended up liking it. So I bought the Switch version because, spontaneous thing. I've been wanting to play it. Like I said earlier, I wanted to test out my new. I gotta get my camera up on screen. I wanted to test out my new Switch with the new backplate and new Joy-Cons. I wanted to play something in portable mode, and like I was going off memory, I guess. I swore Hellblade was mentioned along those games where it's like, I can't believe this game's running on a handheld. It's definitely the way to play it because it, and I'm paraphrasing, quoting other people, on the small screen hides its flaws. So I was like, all right, everything's lining up. I guess I'll play it. So I started in portable mode this morning. And I probably played 45 minutes or so. And my eyes were literally watering multiple times from how blurry the game is. I've never seen a game this blurry in portable mode before. It actually took me by surprise, and the reason I decided to do a Juice Opinions I had no real intention of. I just couldn't believe how blurry this game looks at its worst. At its best, it's okay, but once you get like 3 enemies on screen, it's like, holy shit, it takes a dive. And I'm like, well, how's this going to look in portable mode? Because Doom looks great in portable mode, in my opinion. And then when I put it on the TV, I'm like, holy shit, wow, that's a drop off. That's blurry mess. Like that's a game where the small screen actually does hide the flaws and makes the game look actually pretty good. I'm trying to think of other games that are that situation. A lot of games it's pretty equal, like Mario Odyssey looks great in portable mode, looks great on the TV. Luigi's Mansion 3 looks great in portable mode, looks great on TV. Breath of the Wild, same thing. I can't really think of too many games I own that look better in portable mode and then become a mess on the TV. Doom's the only one that I know of that I can say firsthand. So I was hoping Hellblade was going to be like that. I was hoping in portable mode it would be like, here, you hand it to somebody and they'd be like, holy shit, how's this game running on this system? But it's not. It's the opposite. It actually looks decent in docked. And it's just a mess in portable mode. So what I did was I screen capped. So this is docked, but this is the photo mode in docked, which is just a slightly sharper. And I don't know how well this is going to come through because these photos are kind of shrunken down. So this is docked, actual game. I could turn the camera, I could move right now. And then I lifted it and took a screenshot in portable mode. Now, at first glance, you might say, oh, that looks pretty close. But if you focus on Senua, the main character, and she's the best looking part in any scene in portable mode when you're actually playing the game in motion, because once you start moving, this is best case scenario because this is standing still. Once you start moving, it gets worse. So just look at this area right there as I go back and forth. And this actually isn't the worst case scenario. So I was just like, I was worried. And this is another one. This is docked. This is photo mode. So this is the best case scenario. And then this is regular docked. And then this is portable. Again, it's harder to tell with the screenshot. When you're actually moving around in the game, it gets worse. I'll get to some of the worst case scenarios where I actually captured portable mode when it was at its absolute lowest while moving. So we'll just run through these ones. Watch the foliage here disappears, and I knew there's sacrifices, but like I said, I was hoping the small screen would make it look like Doom on the Switch, on the Switch's screen. To me, almost like I almost forget that I'm not playing the PC version. And then when I docked it, then I'm like, holy crap. Like, I have to get adjusted to the blurriness. And this game's the opposite. So this one's docked. And then it's just, it's a big drop off. And I was surprised by it. So this area, though, this one's a little less obvious, I think. There's portable and there's docked. So this area wasn't as big of a deal. I think the rain and the effects are hiding stuff. Then you got the actual cinematics, which are pre-rendered. So this is what that looks like. Looks like PS4, PC, or any of the other systems. Here's photo mode, in portable mode actually. But here's worst case. Here's where we start getting a worst case scenario. So this is an actual screenshot of portable mode, and this is at its probably lowest resolution. And it's hard to imagine, but imagine this moving and turning the camera and all this blurriness, and your eyes are trying to find something to focus on, and everything looks out of focus. And my eyes were just watering like I was fucking crying. Like, it was bad. And I was really regretting my purchase. Luckily, it's playable on the TV. This was docked photo mode and docked regular. So I didn't take a portable mode one of this. Some areas is not as big of a drop off. You can tell like the foliage increases when you go to photo mode. I'll get to the end, and I have like, this is photo mode again. Photo mode. And here's another. This is portable. This is an area where I don't know what's different. I don't know if that's like a pre-rendered background or something. This is one where the portable mode actually looked good. So there are areas where it does look good. So I'm not just saying everything looks trash. But these next ones are all portable mode, where it was so bad. Like, I had to take these screenshots. I'm like, I can't believe what I'm seeing. This, to me, this looks like a Wii game. Like, there's not one thing about this that looks current generation. When maybe the lighting, but it's not. The whole area isn't this bad. But this little stretch here. You can't. This is so blurry. Like, I just can't even. I can't believe that some people in the chat said that this looks absolutely fine. Like, again, worst case scenario stuff. Again, the lighting actually makes this one look okay. But, and I don't have the side by side. Here's another one that's just like absolutely. And I do have. Let me bring that back up. Let me open. I think it's this one. Yeah, that's photo mode. So this is what the Switch is capable of, and without having to render the game moving and stuff. But when you move the camera around in photo mode, you can tell it's like super sluggish. I feel like it's 10 frames per second. It's probably, I'm guessing I'm pretty close there. 15 tops. So here's the same shot. And it doesn't look this good in dock mode, but and I did this right before, so I didn't want to run upstairs to my TV on dock it and take a screenshot. But this is closer to what the dock looks like in this area. This is what it looks like in portable mode. I can only imagine what The Witcher 3 looks like now that I see it in person. But to me, this is unacceptable to the point where they might have had to stop and think, now, is this worth it? Is having the game look like this? And trust me, when it's moving, your eyes are not happy with you. When you're seeing this amount of blurriness in motion, the small screen does not help. So I'll post these on Twitter if you want to download them to your phone to see them on a smaller screen or whatever, to see the full file without through how it's shrunk down through a YouTube video. But so it just makes me wonder, at what point is it not worth bringing a game to the Switch? Where the sacrifices are too great? And Collected brought up Cyberpunk in his latest video. Who knows? I don't even know what the final game is going to look like on any of the systems. But looking at The Witcher 3, I could tell immediately, even the dock mode stuff. It's like that's a big sacrifice there. That's at the line to me, when not only does the visuals take a big hit, then the compression affects the audio, which there's like weird clipping and low fidelity audio in The Witcher, which I'm sure the sound design's probably a high point on the other versions. And then you have like buildings don't even load in. Like if you're riding your horse, just buildings won't even load in. You're just they're supposed to be there, they're just not. Once they load in, yeah, they're there, but you're at that point, you're actually affecting, riding through a village and a building doesn't pop up while you're riding through it. Like, that's not what the developers intended. And then I'm not even talking about the performance. That's probably one of the biggest things I noticed in Hellblade, was just how sluggish and how, even in dock mode, how slow I am, how slow the camera moves. Now, Doom got away from that. I don't know how Doom did it. That game feels just as fast, just as fluid at 30 frames per second as, not just as, but it's so close where I don't feel like I'm really losing anything with the movement speed and the camera turning. Everything feels like it should. With Hellblade, it just doesn't feel right. You can say, well, it's down to the developer. Well, this game was ported in a process of a year, I heard. Whether that was how accurate that is, it's not like they didn't try. And it's an Unreal Engine 4. We know, thanks to Digital Foundry, that Unreal Engine 4 is a tough engine for even the Xbox One to run without having a low resolution and stuff. So just for me, I think Hellblade is serviceable on the TV in dock mode, and I think it's not even worth playing in portable mode. So if it's not worth playing in portable mode, and I didn't tell this story, I forgot. There's this mechanic where you have to find these runes. Let me look to see if I can find a clip. There's these runes that Senua, the main character, her mind's broke. I forget the exact term. She thinks she sees symbols and everything and stuff. So you see these doors, and in her mind, the gates, they're locked. And
Frank's Red Hot.
And then you have to find that rune in the environment to open up the gate. And I actually had to watch this walkthrough to find it on Switch, and I didn't even have a problem. On PC, I never had a problem. Let's see if I can find it. I should have been close to where I left off. I'll get to my point, so once I find it, show you really what I'm talking about. All right, so here's the door. She sees these runes, and now you have to match them up in the environment. This isn't the one I want, though. We'll just say, once I get to it, I'll show it, the exact one. You're supposed to match up a rune with a shape on the ground. And I could not find it. I wasted like 10, 15 minutes. I'm like, where the fuck is this? Like, it lets you know when you're close. I just could not find it. Oh, here it is. Nope. This is a long video, so it's hard for me to skip ahead without jumping around too far. I could not find this. It's like an R shape. Come on. And I was like, what the hell am I missing? So it turns out, since I can't find the spot, you get up high and then you look down at the ground, and there's like an R. I don't know if it's slightly burned into the ground. Where the hell is this one? I couldn't see it. I couldn't make it out on the ground. It was just like the texture, it was just all blurred together. Right here. Dang it, he jumped down. He's going to have to come back up. Fuck, I don't know. I can't find this one. I was looking at it earlier. I don't know why I can't find it now. But I could not fucking find this R shape. Like, where the fuck is it? Like, I'm just like trying and trying. And and it turns out I just couldn't see it because the draw distance was just low, and then the texture quality was so low I couldn't see the difference between like the slightly burnt leaves, like right here. Yeah, that R. See how that's on fire? I don't know why it's showing that other symbol. Let me pause that. It wasn't. It's because this video is so long. That's why it's so hard to just jump ahead a little bit or jump back. And I don't know. I mean, in dock mode it might have been okay, but I'm playing in portable mode, and I could not find this fucker. So it actually affected me solving this puzzle. And you could say, well, they should have made sure that stood out. And I'm just, maybe it does in dock mode, but they had to. Basically, if you make a game for Switch, you have to have it run in portable mode. If you don't, then you might as well not have your game on the system, So they're kind of stuck. If they want to get their game out, they want to put it on this popular console. And look how fast she walks across here. That is so slow in the Switch version that's not even funny. But yeah, this looks easy. I found this right away. Once I seen the answer, I found it right away. You could barely make that out on the Switch versions. Again, developer could have made that better, so they messed it up. But either way, it actually affected my ability to solve a puzzle, and I struggled with it. And then once I saw it, I was like, are you fucking kidding me? Even when I was there looking at it, I was like, I still don't see the R, but I know this is the right spot. And, you just hold the focus button. So, but again, getting back to what I'm saying, it's not like they can just skip portable mode. It's not like a developer can skip docked mode, they have to make it work on both. And sometimes the results are good. Sometimes they're great. And sometimes they're pretty bad. Like, I think Xenoblade Chronicles 2 was the worst looking game in portable mode that I'd seen, that I own, until I played Hellblade. So, but Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in dock looks pretty good, and there's times where it looks really good. And they prioritized dock mode, is obvious. And I know if Roy Relapse is watching this, he's been very adamant about the portable mode, especially with the Torna DLC. There's just no denying it. I mean, you can say it looks fine to you, but there's no denying that it looks way less than Breath of the Wild or Odyssey or Luigi's Mansion in portable mode. Like, there's no harm in just ranking things, even if, let's say, you don't care, but to say that you don't see it, that's when I have trouble believing you. Like, like Torna, there's no denying the docked mode. They did slightly improve it, but there's no denying that looks way, like, visually way inferior in portable mode. Like, that's just a fact. That's not even stating an opinion. Rocket League used to look absolutely like trash in portable mode, and they actually patched it so that it runs closer to the native resolution. If the game is still, is it still fun though? If I'm sitting there, I can't solve a puzzle because of the limitations they had to make to have the game run. I mean, at that point, I don't know if it's still fun. I wasn't having fun trying to figure out that damn rune that I had done easily my first playthrough on PC. Like, yeah, they could have just bit the bullet and just made it really obvious. I don't know what. Maybe they missed that one. But as somebody who's finished Hellblade, had 11 hours into it, I can tell you it's a lesser experience to the point, like I said, my eyes are watering. My eyes aren't watering because I'm crying from the story. It's because my eyes are trying to focus on something that's overly blurry. At that point, am I still having fun? I mean, I don't think I'm having fun when my eyes are watering because they need something clear to be looking at. I need to take a break. If I was going to keep playing in portable mode, I think I'd have to take a break like every 15, 20 minutes just to let my eyes rest, because that's a lot of strain. It's like when your eyes get dilated when you go to the eye doctor. Like, that's not fun. It's not fun walking around with dilated eyes. Like, that shit sucks. And that's kind of how it feels. So, um, yeah, if they capture like Doom, they captured Doom. The movement speed, the freneticness of it. Portable mode actually looks, in my opinion, pretty good. Looks better than docked. They captured Doom with that, and but on the TV, it's a blurry mess. And I'm a huge fan of that game. I have 55 hours in it on Switch. I mean, I'm a huge Nintendo fan. You guys, no denying that. There's no one could argue against that. But I just don't have any problem saying when something looks bad on a Nintendo system. I don't see why there's anything wrong with it. Like, um, you'd be playing today to see if you just as sick. I mean, it's not getting sick. It's just, I mean, my eyes started to strain. Like that's not a good thing. And I haven't honestly, like I said, it made me feel like I was playing some Wii games. In particular, when I was playing Hellblade, like it's just the worst. In my opinion, it's the worst case. I haven't seen every game. That's why I'm only saying it's my opinion, because I haven't seen any other game that looks worse in portable mode. But I haven't played Ark. But and just like that, I can say that Luigi's Mansion looks absolutely fantastic in portable mode. So I know that there's not a, it's different for every game. It's different for every situation. Like I said, some games look really good in portable mode and not so good on TV, and other games it's the opposite. So I don't know what there shouldn't really be any debate about it. The game looks bad, and my thing I want to hear about is where's the line for you, where it's like that's too far. That's too many sacrifices. It no longer retains the essence of the game, or it's no longer playable. Yeah, I don't know that Wii games look great. I mean, they still look good. I'd never say it looked great though. But I will say too is it also depends on what you're watching it on, or what you're viewing it on. Like there's some TVs that don't handle low res content very well, and there's some that do a industry leading job at it. Like my LG or Sony, I think, has the best. If you want the best upscaling from sub HD to 4K, I think Sony's the market leader when it comes to that stuff. So anyway, again, finish up. Is there a line where a game's not worth it? Is there, whether it's performance, whether it's visuals, whether it's sound? Like for me, that's the biggest drawback to Doom is the compressed sound, the way it cuts out, the way it glitches. And I'm a huge audiophile. If you don't know me, every setup, I have a 5.1 setup. Well, I have a 7.1 in my theater room. In my living room, TV, all my video games, all my movies, 100% of the time, 5.1 with a really good subwoofer. At my computer desk, I have a 5.1 Creative with a pretty shitty subwoofer, but I only roll in surround sound. I don't do stereo, I don't do TV speakers, I don't do sound bars. And when I hear something that sounds amazing, it makes the experience better, whether it's a movie or a game. The performance isn't terrible. It stutters a lot in transitions, but it just feels it feels like you're walking through molasses. And I struggled on the first boss fight because the timing of the parry and the dodge roll is just off, because I played at 60 frames per second, so I don't know how it compares to like other 30 frames per second versions, but I was struggling to dodge and stuff because the timing was just off. But yeah, so that it definitely plays slower. So if you didn't know any better, you'd probably think it's fine. But it definitely, it's a step down for sure in that regard too. So even in dock mode, because that doesn't really change. So, but anyway, like I was saying, I'm a big audiophile. If I hear something amazing, I'm like, it can make a good thing great. It can make a great thing like amazing. It doesn't turn shit things into good things, like amazing sound, but it enhances the experience. I think the same thing with HDR. It doesn't make the game more fun. It doesn't change anything about the story or the mechanics. But man, in Resident Evil 2, does it make the lighting look so natural and realistic that it just elevates it. It might be different for some people. For me, it elevates it quite a bit. And so when I'm playing Doom on the Switch and the audio's cutting out and sound effects are missing because they had to compress it to fit on the cartridge, that's to me that's a letdown. That's when I got to turn the volume down because I don't hear audio clipping and stuff. You say, I would love the option to download like a 5 gigabyte audio, high quality audio. That would be something I'd be all for. But they're not going to do it. But I would be all for it. I'd rather have less space on my Switch and have higher quality audio. I'd rather have higher quality audio than higher quality visuals. I could live with almost every game that's on the Switch visually if they also came if you added like full uncompressed, like maybe not Dolby Atmos, but some of the higher quality, higher bitrate audio of like DTS Master Audio or Dolby True HD, just a higher bitrate. It doesn't even have to be a Dolby or DTS, just a super high bitrate audio and a high file size. I'll take that over getting sharper visuals any day of the week. So, I mean, that's definitely personal opinion. Somebody might be the opposite. They might not care at all about audio. They play with their TV speakers. I don't know. But yeah, it's just, you got to start with something good. Like the game has to be good. But then you start adding little things like, maybe they're not little, but you start adding like what an HDR TV gives you, what a surround sound experience gives you. Like, I can't even imagine playing, I would say 95% of today's games without surround sound. The amount of immersion that adds, especially when the rear speakers are utilized heavily, it just elevates that to such a level that I can't even imagine. And I feel bad for people that just play with TV speakers or a soundbar. Like it's that much of a difference for me. So anyway, I've been rambling on long enough. I'm gonna get out of here. I got some shit I gotta take care of around the house. Gotta do chores, and had a whole week off. Got to play lots of games, and got one more level of Luigi's Mansion, floor 15. And I'll be done. Well, I'll go back and get the booze, but I have all the gems up to that point, and I'm really enjoying that. And then, yeah, so anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. Let me know in the comments if anybody has a line that they think when a game's not worth bringing to any system, if there's sacrifices got to be made. Where's that line for you, if there is one? Is it visual? Is it parody? Like, don't even have to be parody. It could be price, could be release date, could be anything, where it's just like, at this point, it's not even worth it. So, all right, guys, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you tomorrow on the Juice Loose podcast. So, everybody that still watches football, hopefully your teams win. I gave up, so all right, we'll talk to you next time.